Hi everyone, and welcome along to today's video. So what we're looking at today is leaks on pipe work. Here's a typical kind of bit of pipe work you find around home. It's coupling on it, another little joint here. So one day you see a little leak coming out of one of these joints, or it's gone green and mouldy. Looks like it's been leaking at some time or another. So how do you fix that? So do you call a plumber, or do you have a go yourself? Well, do this job in a minute flat. If you've got a couple of spanners, it's a piece of cake, because 9 times out of 10 just wants a nip up, a little quarter turn, tighten on that nut, and you'll have sorted it. Let me show you how. So we'll say you've got a leak on here. Okay, couple of spanners, all you need. So don't be tempted just to put your spanner on there and try and turn it without what we call holding against, to stop this from turning altogether. You might break the joint this side. Okay, so don't be tempted to just put that on and try and nip it up. What you've got to do first is hold against. Now there's a little knobby bit in the middle of there. Don't put your spanner on the nut the other side. Okay, put it on this bit here. So what I'm talking about is getting that spanner on there. Okay, on the nut. Now thinner the spanner the better, because these couplings don't go up that far. So if you've got too wide a spanner, you might catch the nut on the other side. Okay, anyway, this one's alright, it's got plenty of room. So there's one spanner on, okay, with room on the thread to go up when we want to tighten it a bit more. We've got our other spanner, okay, ready to go on there. So we put that there. Now what we're going to do is kind of hold against, and it looks a bit tricky like this the way I'm showing you, but we're going to tighten that up by holding against and tightening with this spanner. So there's the spanners on, you see, and then we just tighten it up like this. Okay, so we're tightening it on. I've left it a bit loose just to show you, and you'll feel it start to pinch. Now when you're just tightening it up from a leak, it will already be tight. Okay, it won't be easy like that. I was just showing you. So it'll be around about like this, and all you need to do is about this much. That's it, and that will probably stop it 9 times out of 10. Alright, there is the odd occasion, I know sometimes it always works, but most times it does. Go back to the next day, you soon tell if you've got it. Now another thing with these, if there's not a lot of room between the thread on a coupling, you could use something like these grips to grip on there like that, because they're nice and thin. Okay, and you can get that in between so it doesn't catch the nut the other side. So if you want to make sure that doesn't catch on a spanner, get yourself a pair of these grips. They're not too much money and they're very handy. And another one is the radiator valve job. Now a lot of people get leaks running down a radiator valve, so let's move on to that. Radiator valve then. So if you've got one of these and you've got a run mark running down the pipe, a leak, and first thing to check before you go trying to tighten this is take the top off and just check it's not coming out of the packing gland, alright, because a lot of times it runs down there and gives you the impression that it's leaking from here, which it isn't. Alright, so but leave the lid off anyway. Now if you've got this type of valve with the big nut that goes into the radiator, 22mm nut, you're pretty safe to be able to put your spanner literally straight on there and tighten it up. Again, it's tightly, okay, turn to the right and just nip it round like that and give it that little quarter turn, and it'll probably stop it leaking with most times. Alright, but if you haven't got this tight, it's got to be held against, and I'll show you what I mean. Right, here we have this normal type of valve. This is a thermostatic one, and you can see the difference with them. Now, that is just a nut and olive, the same as on the bottom of there. So we've got to be careful if you try to tighten this one, because you could snap that out of there by turning it whoop round like that, and that pops out and you're in trouble. So once again you've got to hold against. So with these you don't, because the difference is you've got that kind of arrangement in there. That's not going to come out of there. There's no olive or anything if you've got the big 22mm nut. So this tight, we've got to hold against. So on a spanner on there, now if you're scared of marking it, put a bit of cloth around it. Once again, spanner on there and use that spanner on the top to hold against, and then pull like so. Better if you can get the spanner around that way if you can, because sometimes it's against the wall like that, makes it very awkward. But whatever way, try and get a grip on that to hold against. Now if that doesn't work for you, then get the old grips. I know a lot of people don't like grips, but they're my preferred. Let's show you. Once again, the ones I showed you before. If you don't want to mark the valve, bit of rag, open the cloth up and put it around like so. Okay, that will stop you marking it. Then you can put your spanner on there and give it a turn up, okay, to tighten it up, holding against as much as you can with the left hand. Then it won't break that joint there and come away. I know what you're thinking, what about if we get a leak on this one here? Once again, it's just a nut with an olive in it, just compressed on that bit of tube sticking out of there. Could leak from there, they quite often do. Once again, this is where I use my trusty friends, these footprints they're called, because they're nice and weighty and meaty. The Gordons, we call them the Gordons, but these grips aren't very thick, they're a bit flimsy. This is why I like to use these on this job, because we want to tighten that up. We don't want it to snap that joint down there by tightening it, because it's got to go up that way. So we're going up that way to tighten it. Okay, so we need to hold against. Got to stop it from moving that way. Again, bit of cloth if you want to protect your valve. I'm using these grips around it to hold against there. Once I've got them on there, then I can tighten that away and push down and just take the pressure off of that joint there. Just giving it a nip. Again, probably only want the tiniest of nips, and that will stop it. Alright, so it's not too bad. Again, if I show you the valve, you can see that goes like that, and that would go up like so. What I'm going to do now for you is just loosen this one off, show you it leaking, and then tighten it up. Okay, just so you can see how it works. Okay, so I've started my valve leaking. You can see the water running down it. Just to show you guys, it's all on the floor there, coming down. I've loosened it a little bit more than it would probably be normally. So what I'm going to do now is tighten this up, and the way to do it is as I've shown you. Basically, we're going to add spanner on there, get it around the right way out, on there like that. Now I can move it a bit because it's loose at the moment. What I'm going to do now is put that. Well, we've got the gauntlet on, which is what I showed you with first, on there to hold against. So I'm not worried about the cloth because this is an old valve. And then just nip it. See that much? That's all it needs. That little bit there. And that's it. Say 9 times out of 10, stops leaks dead. Basically then, the same with any joints at all. If you've got to pull hard one way or another, just give it a nip. Just remember that you may pull on that joint. So say you were doing that one up like that, you're going to put a strain on that joint. It's going to want to come away like that. So all you've got to remember, whichever way, whatever the joint is, whichever way you're facing, you can be around that way, rightly, tightly. Okay, right hand threads. That's all you've got to remember. So same with this, again, this joint. Before you go tightening that up, say if it's leaking there, put those on top. Alright, get a good grip on it. Then get your spanner here, and put it on there and tighten it up that way, like that. Okay, holding against it, the pressure's not on that joint, it's on that spanner there, and that's it. And you should find it. It'll only go a tiny bit, probably not even a quarter of a turn a lot of times, but it will stop that leak. Usually. No, it's an old plumbing trick. I've been doing it for years. Most plumbers know about it, and we do often get to places where we just go with a spanner and job done. Anyway, it's just a little tip for you guys. Save you a lot of hassle calling out plumbers, etc. for something really small, and usually that you can do yourself. Okay, that's about it though. Usual place for my videos. I'm going to go. Derek and 33. Thanks guys. Bye bye.